Kevin, AW All In, CM Punk, more drama, Punk and Roman Reigns. We'll do a bit of that discussion. There's a lot to get into. So firstly, how you doing, pal?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
I'm great, pal. It's 5:38 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in the land down under.
Beautiful.
I'm excited. Kevin, where would you rather be? I could pan the camera. It's pitch black outside. I'm excited. I've got a lot to say about this All In event. I watched pretty much the whole thing, so I just want to go off on a few things. Not go off, but discuss things generally. So Kevin, first and foremost, I guess just generally, I'll pass to you. I mean, from what you've seen, like your overall general opinions from All In? Did you like what you saw? Were you a bit like, a bit overhyped? Like, where are you at?
So a lot of people said that this was the best pay-per-view AEW's put on, and I think in large part that's probably due to the sheer amount of people that were there in the audience and the atmosphere. I mean, it's a spectacle. Just the fact that a non-WWE show sold out an 80,000 seat stadium. It's remarkable. In London, England, no less. Remarkable. One of the most remarkable feats. This show, really, it ended up being what we kind of said it would be. Just a bunch of random matches, no rhyme or reason. Just like, okay, we're putting on a special show. And really, the only match that had like a proper build-up was the main event. Was Cole and MJF. And that was still used to progress the storyline. Smartly so. Cole and MJF, that tandem is going to be milked by AEW. They're going to keep going. They're going to get as much money and as much interest as they can out of that. So rightfully so. But overall, in a nutshell, do I think this is the best show that AEW's put on? I don't know. I think it's in the conversation. I think that like a lot of people now, especially with social media and like short attention spans, people have a knee-jerk reaction, and they see like a 3-hour stretch of wrestling that's pretty good. They're like, oh yeah, best ever, right off the bat. And that's kind of the theme with AEW. Like, every AEW pay-per-view is the best ever, if you listen to the audience. There's been, like All Out 2020 is one that people hated, generally. Or not hated, but received negatively.
Yeah.
And there was another one, I can't remember. I think it was Full Gear 2022. I don't remember what pay-per-view it was exactly, but there was another AEW pay-per-view that everybody was like, I'm not feeling that one. And that's kind of, like, aside from those couple exceptions, every pay-per-view AEW does, like, yeah, that's the best. So, I digress. A lot happened on this show. Where do you want to start?
I want to start on the main event. That's the thing worthy of the most discussion. When I was watching this event, Kevin, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It's sort of a bunch of matches, and you're watching, it's Punk and Joe, it's Ospreay and Jericho, it's the Stadium Stampede, it's Soraya and the women's title. There's a bunch of stuff. But then the main event, they play the video for that, and you see MJF, and you see this storyline and what they put together, and you go, okay, I'm now more invested because there's a storyline. That was the big thing. There was a reason to care. There was build-up. There was a few months of storytelling, and there's a big star involved, MJF, and a really good talent, Adam Cole. So right away, my investment went from, it's gonna be another match to, okay, I'm in now. And then the entrances, MJF's entrance, that bit is excellent. That was a like WWE WrestleMania entrance. Kevin, I don't know if you've seen that, or a screenshot or anything. MJF came out, but it was basically like a Triple H Velveteen Dream for like throne with the devil thing. Brilliant stuff. Like, my takeaway from that and just the match generally, MJF is a WWE main event star. And I think the big takeaway from AEW in 2023, I don't know, I'll get your opinion on this in a moment, but coming into the year, there were definite question marks with MJF. Is he just The Miz? Is he just a good promo guy who's not great in the ring, who you can't really trust as a main event guy? MJF has thrown away that. He is a legitimate WWE main event star talent. This is a guy who can go on Good Morning America. This is a guy who can go on the talk shows. He can hold the big W over his shoulder. He can main event the WrestleManias. It's believable. It's good. That's where MJF's at now. So that was my big takeaway just generally. MJF's gone from like, Miz comparisons, which is just disgraceful,
Gross,
to above that. But the match itself, I loved it. It was a storytelling match. Some of the other matches on this show was literally just gory spots, like the Stadium Stampede match, blood for the sake of blood, chaotic suicide dives for no reason, stuff lacks psychology, just like an exhibition. This was actually a story. I thought what they did was brilliant. It captivated me. I wouldn't say I was captivated by most of the show, which, I agree with you. The feedback on any AEW show is always just so hyperbolic and over the top. The best show I've seen, the best this, the best this. It's like, okay, can we calm down, remove a bit of emotion, analyze the show a bit more fairly, and then come out what we come out with. So, Kevin, that's my takeaway from the main event. Thoughts?
Now, let me ask you a brutally honest question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in passing there the MJF and Miz comparisons. Mm-hmm. If the Miz were to let his contract with WWE expire, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, Tony Khan's like, I gotta get this guy. Big fish. Former WWE main eventer. Former WWE champion. Former WrestleMania main eventer. Tony Khan's like, I have to have the Miz. What do you think the Miz would be in AEW?
I think he'd be similar to like Christian sort of thing. Like he'd be used as a catalyst to cut promos on behalf of maybe some younger talents. He'd probably have some programs. He'd be like a bitter ex-WWE guy. He'd be a heel. Something like that, I think. Maybe more of like a managerial sort of. I don't think Miz would be much of like an active wrestler per se in AEW. I don't imagine that's how they'd use him.
So you don't think he'd be used like CM Punk? Where he's like having shows built around him. He's like one of the main stars of the company, feuding with everybody. And the reason why I asked this is because everybody loves the Miz, And I'm just curious to see what you would think, because me personally, I agree with you. Like I think Miz would be like Colt Cabana. Maybe not to that extreme, but it'd be like, okay, the Miz is here. He showed up on a random episode of Dynamite or a random Battle Royal, and then it's like, he's here every other week in backstage segments, or he's having a match like on Dark, or not Dark, on Rampage. I don't think he'd make much of a dent in AEW. I could be wrong. Maybe he'd be a big draw, but I don't know. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, and I just want to double down with the MJF praise on this, because this is like my big takeaway watching this match. Like, Cole is Cole. We sort of know what Adam Cole can do. We've seen him for years with NXTs, Ring of Honors, the like. He's been around for a long time. We know his skill set. He was good as well. But like MJF during this match, I'm watching it going, I mean, to use your term from some of our bios, this is like a 5-tool player. Like the aesthetic. He's not like MJF isn't like some skinny guy. Like, granted, he's not like 6'5", but he's built. He's the look, the haircut, the aesthetic, the entrance was incredible here. Promos, everyone knows he's great at that. And the in-ring, which was in many people's eyes the criticism coming into this year, he's had the Iron Man match with Bryan Danielson at Revolution, the Fatal 4-Way at Double or Nothing with the other pillars was fine. It wasn't incredible, but it was a good match. And then this is like a storytelling sort of match. This is the sort of match which, if I'm WWE Brass, I'm Nick Khan, I'm Paul Levesque, I'm one of these guys, I'm watching going, he can do this really well. This is the sort of match he'd have against a Roman Reigns or maybe a Cody in WWE at a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. Paul, get the checkbook, blank check, come on. Let's get the max. Let's get him in. Like, it was great. And then obviously they do the ending. Roderick Strong's involved, pal. Like, I saw Roddy. I'm like, oh, this is that job from NXT, Roderick Strong. This bum.
Wow.
So he comes out there. You got Adam Cole's like, you're not my... Well, Cole's all conflicted. They're having these emotional mood swings. 1 second, Cole loves Roderick Strong. The next second, he doesn't love Roderick Strong. And then MJF is there. 1 second, he's pulling a diamond ring out of his crotch. Then he's putting the diamond ring back in his pants. And then he's having like breakdowns. Then there's a low blow and the referee's down, and the referee's up again and the referee's down. And then they do the Adam Cole like series of finishes on MJF and Rimsberg. This referee's like 1, 2, and then MJF kicked out. And then it was like, oh, there you go. And then MJF wins with a roll up. So yeah, it furthers the story. Enjoyable main event, quality main event. If you haven't seen it, this is the big thing to watch from the show. This is the match. Everything else is sort of, as you alluded to, Kevin, like an exhibition of different talents. This was a match you pretty much need to see. So yeah, that's my takeaway. Kevin, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you stole all the words I wanted to say. The point about MJF being a WWE made guy, for lack of a better term, like MJF's just bigger than this company. Yes. Is realistically what you're trying to say. He's made for the big leagues. Let's not sugarcoat it. MJF's ready. He doesn't need NXT. That's for sure. Like, if Triple H sat him down, it was like, all right, Maxwell, gonna offer you a developmental deal. I like you to train with Braun Breaker. You know, MJF's gonna be like, all right, Tony. Yeah, WWE gave me an offer for like $5 million a year. Can you match it? He's like, definitely worked Tony Khan for some money and would never take an NXT offer. So yeah, with that being said, main event was good. MJF and Adam Cole have unreal chemistry. They really do. They work so well together. I want to say that this has been MJF's like best friend / rival. You know, I kind of like the story that they've been telling where MJF's like being more vulnerable and showing a different side of himself than we've seen. Like he's not breaking character, but he's adding a layer to his character throughout this whole storyline. The match was fun. Not a great technical match, but if you like storytelling and you like, you know, entertainment within a wrestling match, there's no better guy at it than Roman Reigns. Is probably the best at like entertaining inside of a match, but MJF's like right there at number 2, I would say, in wrestling right now. I want to ask you though. I want to rewind. Let's go back to the pre-show, pal.
Yes.
Let's go all the way to the pre-show. Yes. So we had a lovely match and a FTW rules match for the FTW championship. We saw Taz's son Hook versus Jack Perry. Right now, there's a spot in this match where Jack Perry is looking into the camera. He's like, look at the camera, and there's a car right there in the camera shot. Jack Perry slaps the glass, the windshield of the car, and he's like, you see, this is real glass. This is how we do things. So now, for those of you who don't know, the reason why Jack Perry did this, he was taking a shot at one CM Punk. For those of you who don't know. Now, that match goes on. Whatever. Jack Perry loses, does the job for old Hook. Jack Perry's walking to the back. CM Punk's he's putting his tape on. You know, he's got his shirt going. He's ready to walk out, do his Hogan ear stuff. Do his You Can't See Me. CM Punk's getting ready. This big fight with Samoa Joe. He's out there. Jack Perry walks by. CM Punk and Jack Perry lock eyes, apparently, in the back. Boom. Altercation breaks out. And here we go. CM Punk allegedly punched Jack Perry in the face and choked him out in the gorilla position right before he walked out for his match. I gotta say this. I'm gonna give CM Punk a lot of credit here. CM Punk, we've said this before, you and I. CM Punk is the last of a dying breed. There's not a lot of guys like this in wrestling. Like, CM Punk is literally like, he's cut from like the cloth that like the guys in the 70s and 80s were. Like that's something that Harley Race would do. Just casually knock out another wrestler for no reason in the back. Like he's playing cards and somebody looks at him the wrong way. Harley Race gets up, just knocks somebody out, and then goes to the ring and has a 40-minute classic with Ric Flair. Like, CM Punk is a G. CM Punk's a true, I don't even know what you call it, a true carnies wrestler. He's your favorite wrestling personality and your favorite wrestler of yesteryear. He's their favorite wrestler for a reason. That's some, I mean, come on, that's some crazy shit, bro. He shot on the son of a millionaire A-list dead celebrity in Jack Perry, you know. Rest in peace to Luke Perry. CM Punk shot on his son, and then went out there and had a match with Samoa Joe, and bled and did his whole thing.
I can't say I'm surprised this happened at this point. You know, it's not like this is like, oh my god, CM Punk did what? Like, it's hardly like that. It's like, to me, how I view it, you've got, I mean, you'd perfectly describe what Jungle Boy is. Jack Perry, you know, successful son of this successful actor. Had this incredible, like, golden goose, golden boy upbringing. Like, he's this pretty boy. And then there's got Phil Brooks, who, if you've seen the Punk documentaries, you know, the Punk story, he was, you know, it's problematic family. It's adopted. It's like the stepsisters. He's, you know, always felt like an outcast. He had the tattoos, all this stuff. So there's a natural difference there. And then you got Jack Perry. This is real glass, Phil. You know? Yeah, like, my main takeaway from that, and granted, this is just me. Is this me trying to have a hot take on this? I don't know. But I watched a bit of the press conference scrum thing, or like just generally you hear MJF speak, not even this scrum, but other ones. I'm like, in this AEW, from what I can take away watching this stuff, MJF is the locker room leader, or at least one of. He's like the leader of the locker room. CM Punk, Phil Brooks is the locker room divider. All right? As Punk says, if you're for me, thank you. If you're against me, F you. In the direct quote from Phil Brooks. So Yeah, Kevin, are we surprised? Phil Brooks, backstage. Oh, yeah, come on, yeah, yeah, Perry, yeah, bitch. Like, are you surprised? Are you shocked by that?
Can I interject here just for
Yeah,
a
go
moment?
for it. Go for it.
Let's say this was like, I'm not even gonna go too far back. Let's say this was like 2003, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think Jack Perry would be on TV, honestly.
No.
Like, other wrestlers would have beat his ass. Like, CM Punk wouldn't be the only one, you know? Like, we know what happened to The Miz, this reality TV star. He gets thrown out of the locker room by a certain someone that we don't speak about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's... I don't know. Yes, locker room divider. I agree with you. In today's climate, it's not cool. In any climate, it's not cool. But the reality is, CM Punk's doing what he knows. Like, CM Punk grew up from a different time frame. Like we said, he came around from a different time frame in wrestling. He was watching people get beat up in strip clubs for saying wrestling's fake. You know, like it's just different. And Jack Perry is a guy that is, like we said, pretty boy, son of an actor, born in the hills, pal, in Hollywood Hills, born and raised there. Guys like that traditionally in wrestling don't get a ton of respect backstage. You know, it's kind of is what it is at this point. And CM Punk's not going to change, clearly. So we won't see Jack Perry on Collision for too much longer.
Pal, I mean, carrying on with Punk now, I want to just discuss this Punk-Joe match. Yeah. So this opened the event.
Yes.
Punk came out with the real world title which I like the visual of this, I must say. The AEW big gold title, but it's got like the black X. I do like that. I think that's a cool visual. Punk got, like, I found the most interesting takeaway from this, the reaction Punk got. It was mostly negative.
Yeah.
He'd be, punching, or he'd be doing his moves, and you hear like a drony boo. And then Joe would punch him. Hey! Like, it was, I'm watching it going, I mean, yeah, Punk's going to be a heel. This next MJF feud, Punk will be the vindictive old man whinging heel, and MJF will be the bright babyface upcoming star.
Are you ready for the promos that's gonna take place during that feud? That's gonna be the most like reality blurring storytelling you're ever gonna see on a wrestling story. Yeah.
No, that's the dynamic that I'm watching this show. Like, I don't watch much of the AEW week to week stuff, but I'm watching this going, there's your money program for like 3-4 months. Like, babyface MJF, who are getting behind, vindictive, whingy, bitchy Phil, complaining that someone's better than him, so that's going to be great. But the match itself, Punk bleeding, I thought was totally unnecessary. It was just like, okay, randomly 5 minutes in, Joe throws him through the bottom part of the announce table. All of a sudden, Phil's bleeding like he's seen her at Judgment Day in like 2004. Like, he just blood's everywhere. And it's like, okay, I guess. The Pepsi Plunge was a good finisher. I found Punk doing the Cena, first few 5 moves of doom, then the Hogan ear thing. I'm like, why? Why, Phil? I don't know. Joe dominated most of this match, and then Punk won. That's sort of your review. Joe's Joe. Both these guys have been around forever. We all both know what we're going to get from each of them. It wasn't a 2004 ROH hour and a half epic pal in front of 20 people in a bingo hall, but it was 80,000 people getting to enjoy it. So yeah, I thought it was fine. Some people loved this. I don't know. Phil was bleeding because he got put through the side of an announce table. That didn't make sense. But anyway, there you go.
There you have it, pal. All right, what other matches do you want to talk about?
Stadium Stampede. I need to just, Kevin, I get what this was. I understand. This is just going to be your car crash, 10 guys, big multi-man match, lots going on. You know what to look at. They were doing like split screens on the broadcast. I get it. I get what this was. Moxley's involved. Some hardcore sort of, obviously. I hated this. I absolutely hated this. Kevin, this is the sort of thing, right?
Right.
You're Nick Khan. You're WWE brass. You're watching this AEW thing.
Yep.
And you're going, this is a circus car wreck. This looks like a bunch of amateurs playing with toys, like screwdrivers, forks. They had glass all over the finish of this match. Moxley had his skewers again, pal. Bloody, those skewers. I don't know who brought that into wrestling. I don't know which hardcore. Was that Nick Gage? Was that some other legend? Was that Terry Funk? I don't know. Bless Terry Funk, rest his soul. But whoever brought skewers in, I can't stand you. Like, I'm watching this match, and Jon Moxley, a 37-year-old father, a husband, Kevin, Jon Moxley has a child, and I'm watching this guy have another wrestler slam skewers into his skull, and then the skewers pop out like he's a bloody peacock. Like, what is this? Like, and like, Kevin, this to me nearly ruined the pay-per-view. And thank God for the main event, because like I'm watching this going, this is absolute amateur hour. Who produced this? Firstly, was there a producer, Kevin? Kevin, was there a Jason Jordan? Was there a Tyson Kidd backstage who produced this? Was there Michael P.S. Hayes? One of these
maybe Dean Malenko, maybe Jerry Lynn. I've heard those guys are producers. But everything that I've heard from the dirt sheets and like podcasts, that Tony Khan runs the whole show.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Kevin, I guarantee you, this match, they would have had the 10 guys or whatever, 10, 12 guys involved in this room. They're in the room. Khan walks in, goes, Mox, you lead us off. You bring the ideas to the table. This is your thing. Do the match. And Tony Khan's like, you have 20 minutes, have fun. That's literally what this was. Some people liked it. I didn't. The ending, you have like Glass get involved. Eddie Kingston storms back down wearing his Patrick Ewing jersey. They do the big thing where he's like face to face with Moxley, and Moxley's bleeding everywhere. And then Orange Cassidy, he pops up, pal. He's got glass on his hand, and he punches Claudio, and they win.
Claudio, pal.
That was car crash trash. So yeah, that's my review, pal. Anything on the Stampede? Oh, one more thing. This was a far cry. The Stadium Stampede 3 years ago, I think, the first one, I loved it. That was hilarious. You had Jericho with the cone on his head laughing. You had like the Aubrey Edwards stuff. They're around Daly's place. They had the goalpost spot towards the end.
Matt Hardy running over Sammy Guevara. That was great.
Legendary, funny, entertaining. That was what I expected. That's what I look forward to. I watched this, and you've got them chucking each other on glass. You've got them barbed wire, skewers, pal. I'm like, this is GCW trash. Anyway,
AEW gives you a mixed bag. You get like traditional wrestling with CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. Then you get like indie, like high-flying, flippy-flop matches with the 6-man tag that followed.
Yep.
Then you get like a more of a traditional tag team match with the Young Bucks and FTR. Then you have like, CZW and like deathmatch wrestling stuff with the Stadium Stampede.
Yeah.
Then you get a WWE like 2016 women's match. You get the women's Fatal 4-Way. Then you have WCW. Like TNA, like WCW 2000, like TNA 05, Christian Cage and Sting out there,
Mm-hmm.
You get a little bit of everything. You get a little WWE with MJF versus Cole. You get everything with AEW. But what is AEW?
I don't know. Kevin, unless you have anything on Stadium Stampede, one other thing I want to discuss as well, this 6-man tag match, this Bullet Club Golden Elite thing, I have something to say on this. So I'm watching this match. Obviously, this is, I guess, as we discussed in the preview, it's like a throwback to All In 2018. You got the Golden Elite, so Omega, Ibushi's there. You got Bullet Club. I get it. It's like an exhibition match. And Omega was the star of this match, make no mistake.
Absolutely.
Omega was like the glue that held this together. When he got momentum going, he was the star. It was really obvious. I felt so out of the loop watching this. I watched the video package, and I'm like, okay. And then it's a lot of this stuff is like, you should know, like, oh, the Bullet Club Gold, the story with Don Callis, Konosuke Takeshita, pal. Omega doesn't like Don Callis anymore. And like, I'm watching it going, the spots are good. There was a good, fun car crash 6-man tag, so I'll give it that. But the ending was terrible. It was a 21-minute match. And then this Takeshita guy just gets a roll-up win. And I'm like, what? All that for this guy. And then Don Callis is like hugging him, crying after the match, like he's just won the world title. I'm like, what are they going to do with Konosuke Takeshita and AEW? Are they going to make this guy the face of the company, feuding with MJF? Is Konosuke Takeshita going to be main eventing pay-per-views? What does this guy? Pal, he's the supernova. And great. Cool. I guess he's just another guy Don Callis is paired with. Is he going to 69 Don Callis like Omega did in 2021? Where are they going with this? Is Konosuke Takeshita going to be reading books to preschool children? What are they going to do with Konosuke Takeshita? Is it going to be another Wheeler Yuta situation where he's just he's just the Japanese guy, and the promo's going to be cut about it. What's going on? Like, because Kevin, I don't know. I mean, the match was entertaining. As I said, Omega carried it, but I'm like, what are they? And like, you had Excalibur freaking out, the Supernova. I'm like, okay, he's the Supernova. Why should I care? I'm the viewer. I'm watching All In. What's good about this guy? He's revered in Japan. He fought in the dojo. Great, amazing, cool, amazing for him. Why should I care? But anyway, I'll remove myself there, Kevin. Anything on that, or is there another match you want to discuss, or can we move on?
Pal, what's your honest thoughts on Saraya, formerly known as Paige, winning the AEW Women's World Championship?
They should have had her lose in front of her family. That would have been more entertaining. Like, they had her come out, big pop and circumstance, "We Will Rock You" by Queen. Like, most of the audience is like clapping along, singing along to Queen. It's this big entrance, which that was the best thing about the match, Saraya's entrance. Make no mistake, her whole family. Which, I mean, that was a really cool moment for her family, 100%. You know, because they haven't had the spotlight or the exposure in the last 10 years like Saraya, Paige has. So, cool moment there. And then Saraya wins, as you perfectly describe. It was a 9-minute long WWE 2015, 2016 women's match. That's exactly what it was. Like, there's no, I can't describe this any better. Like, you nailed it. And, you watch the match. Storm's going to win. Britt Baker's going to win, pal. Saraya just won. And then Saraya's like walking around with the title, and a few people are cheering. Solid reaction in a home part of the world. But like week to week, I guess, are they going to do something? Are they going to have Mercedes Moné now? Sasha Banks come in? Is that where they're going with this?
Yeah.
Is it? Because Kevin, we saw Mercedes sitting in the crowd, pal. I know you predicted this on one of our shows a while back. The Mercedes would be in AEW. Mercedes would be like a prominent figure. I guess, Kevin, they're doing Mercedes versus Saraya, I think. Is that where they're going with this? I don't know. Because hopefully they're not doing another 6 months of Saraya versus like Shida or something.
Well, from what I've seen on Twitter, on X, I guess, I don't know. That feels weird to say. What I've seen on X, I don't know. But what I saw on Twitter is that Mercedes Moné is still injured, and she's not cleared to wrestle yet. But AEW just wanted to kind of introduce her, like similar to like what they do in NXT, where it's like, hey, Drew McIntyre's in the crowd, pal.
Yeah!
Yeah, just one of those, get people hyped, get people imagining what Mercedes Moné will do in AEW. I presume, we'll get a big Mercedes Moné and Saraya storyline. I'm going to predict this. I'm going to predict that a promo from one of the girls is going to be this. Hey, I know you from our past life. Hey, we used to wrestle somewhere else. Now we're going to do it here for Tony Khan. I guarantee you we're going to see that. 1,000%. I would put I'd put $100,000 on it if I had that in liquid. I would definitely. I'd put the whole house on it.
Yeah.
Saraya as AEW Women's Champion. I'm not sure what to think. I mean, the women's division in AEW is what it is at this point. I don't know what they could do with Saraya. I don't know. I'm like struggling for words here. I'm trying to think what the next possible storyline could be. We'll probably get more Saraya versus Shida until Mercedes Moné is ready. More Saraya complaining on social media. The women's division in AEW is it's neglected. I think is the way I could put it. Doesn't feel important. It doesn't feel special. A lot of people thought Saraya was just gonna magically fix it with like her star power, and that really hasn't happened.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, like with Saraya, like what do you do with Saraya? I mean, they had that thing where her and Tony Storm, they're in that set and they were spray painting women's backs, and they were spray painting things like a while back. And like, to me, I love how you say the AEW women's division is what it is. In other words, it sucks. That's literally what you say, is what it is. It's a nice way of saying it's no good. And then the one thing I will say, I know there's some more stuff with this, but I mean, Jade Cargill, like she's not the TBS champion anymore. She's just out of the frame, I guess. I don't know. Like, she should go into WWE. She'd be great there, I think. But yeah, Kevin, this was the part of All In where we had the Stadium Stampede. I went in being like, oh my God, this is going to be so cool. Moxley in the BCC's entrance is great. And then I was just like, bruh, this is not what I thought it would be. And then Saraya came out, had this women's match. I'm like, And then they do the coffin match. I'm like, why is this a 20-minute match? I thought this would go for like 8 minutes. This went too long. And like the pacing was good, I will say. For AEW shows, usually they're all 20-minute long matches, where there's no like room to really have like a little shorter match. The pacing was better, but that coffin match went on too long. Sting Pal, the 64-year-old Steve Borden, won. The guy who Chris Jericho called a whore 3 months ago got the win with Darby Allin. So that's good. One match I want to shout out, Ospreay and Jericho. That blew away my expectations. I was going in thinking, oh, it's Jericho. Who cares? You know, he's 53. You know, he's 53. This is the guy who NBA Twitter blasted 3 years ago. This is the guy who had the Jericho Appreciation Society, which is just Sammy Guevara praising him on live television for 2 years. This is that guy. The match was actually good. You know, it pleasantly surprised me. This is better than any Jericho match I can think of that I've watched and really enjoyed since probably the Stadium Stampede, where he had the cone and was like, with a cone on his head. So shout out Jericho, shout out Ospreay. This really picked up the show because, as I said before this, I was getting grossed out. I'm like, what am I watching? I'm watching Saraya winning a championship she has no business winning. I'm watching Moxley with skewers in his head as the father of one child. I'm watching a coffin match with a 64-year-old Steve Borden. The crowd's up and down at this stage, and Ospreay and Jericho saved it. So there's that, Kevin. That's probably all I have to really unpack here, to be honest. And then also one more thing. The house rules thing, that 6-man tag. Do you want to say something here?
Yeah, I want to interject before we go too far away from the subject. Yeah. I want to talk about this Darby Allin and Sting match for a minute.
Yep.
So Sting is what, 67? 68? How old is Sting? Let me find this out. Let me fact check this.
He's 64. We did this whole bit like a few months back. He's 64. Yeah.
Yeah, Sting. I forgot there's a singer named Sting. I look up Sting and that's what comes up. So no, yeah, Sting is 64 years of age to this date. And he's having like a 20-minute match on an AEW show. And like, I love Sting. All due respect to him. How much longer can this go on? Like, you know, like, I mean this with sincerity. How much longer until something really bad happens? You know? Like, this is a 64-year-old man. You know what I mean? He's older than a lot of guys from, like, the Ruthless Aggression era that aren't wrestling anymore, you know? And, like, the Attitude era. Like, he's older than Kurt Angle, who doesn't wrestle anymore, you know? I don't know. It's very dangerous. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. You know, the match was fine. You know what I mean? Like, you saw it. You saw it in full. The match was fine. Like, it's not bad. It's not great. Yeah. But when you look at, like, AEW in its totality, right? In 10 years from now, when WWE is producing the rise and fall of AEW on Peacock, right? And you've got, like, Keith Lee, for example. Keith Lee's talking about his time in AEW. Is Keith Lee going to be sitting there going, you know what, man? When Sting's 4-year run, or 5-year run in AEW was incredible. One of the highlights of AEW. You know, is anybody going to be thinking that? You know? He's just there. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like the Rolling Stones still doing concerts at this time, like at their age. It's like, oh, it's the Rolling Stones. That's awesome, man. I'm just grateful they're still kicking. I guess that's kind of what it is with Sting, right?
I guess, yeah, but the difference is the Rolling Stones aren't throwing themselves through tables and getting spike pile driven every second week. Like, it's, you know, like, yeah, it's Steve Borden, 64. Is he doing this for money or is he doing this for passion? Like, is he going broke? Like, I don't understand it.
I don't think he is.
Just be Darby Allin's manager. You know, make your appearances. Do the Sting entrance every now and then. Maybe if he's on less, it'll feel more special. It's sort of just, when he came in 2020, it was like, OMG, amazing. And Winter is Coming 2020. But now it's like, 2.5 years. He wrestles like every other week. He's involved in matches. He's involved with Darby Allin stuff. Like, it's sort of done its dash. And, you know, you make that comment there. I mean, he's 64. Like, before it gets to the point of heroes of wrestling, call it quits. End it there. What's going to come of Sting doing a match like this, you know, going forward and just generally? What, you know, a move gets done and his neck gets, or his body gets dropped at an angle that's slightly like this much to one side. All of a sudden, he's like, he can't feel one side of his body. It's stuff like that. You know, the risk is just so high. Yeah. And if we even mention that risk, apparently we're like horrible people. as I did with Daniel Bryan 2 years ago. You can't do that. You can't say that it's a bit, it's really risky. And what's the return here, Kevin? This is the other thing. This match was like 6th, 7th on the show. It got an okay reaction. This isn't a match we're going to be talking about in 5, 10, 15 years, Kevin. You're not going to be, chilling at a pool party in like 15 years. You got your friends. You got like 3 kids running around. It's like a big birthday party. You're chilling there. You got your enchiladas. You got your sodas. You're talking about Sting's coffin match. Where Swerve Strickland tried to put him in the coffin. Then he got out of the coffin. Then Darby Allin dove on Swerve Strickland. No one's going to be talking about this. All people are talking about from this event is Punk, like, attacking. It depends which source.
A celebrity's child.
Yeah, Punk beating up Jack Perry, and then the great main event with MJF, the future star of WWE, in the main event. So, I don't know. What's the point? Anything else on that? Or I was going to do one more thing before we move on.
Go ahead.
Kevin, that House of Black match with, Murphy. Why is Murphy, like, this is going to piss people off. I'm going to sound uninformed. Why is Murphy in the House of Black? He's not a big dude with tattoos. He sticks out like a sore thumb. He's got like the face paint. Murphy's just like a jacked white guy with not a single tattoo in sight. And you got Aleister Black, or Malachi, who's just got these tattoos head to toe. And then you got the other dude who I always forget the name of. Yeah, Brody King, who's just tattoos head to toe. And then there's just this white dude. Anyway, so I'm watching the match. Fine match, wasn't bad by any means. Wasn't great by any means. And then they do the post-match, Kevin. You've got an arena full of people. They're chanting. They want it, pal. They want Billy Gunn. They want the Acclaim. They want them to do it, Kevin. They want the guys to do it. The crowd's chanting. Grown men screaming. Come on, do it, do it. Scissor me, daddy ass, they say. And they're doing that. And then I'm watching this going, people paid money, hundreds of dollars, to sit ringside and to scream, scissor me, daddy ass, and celebrate when a 58-year-old Billy Gunn does scissoring hand gestures with Max Caster and the other guy, Anthony Bowens. And they're doing this in the middle of the ring, and the audience is erupting with cheers. And I sat there thinking, as wrestling passed me by, like, am I too old? Am I too mature for wrestling? Like, what am I watching here, Kevin? I had a deep moment of thought, and then within 2 minutes, I had MJF and Adam Cole's video package. I'm like, okay, I'm back. But I had a real moment where I'm like, why do I do this?
There you go.
Why am I watching a children's show where they're scissoring each other? Anyway, Kevin.
Speaking of having a moment and watching a children's show, let's talk about Roman Reigns and CM Punk.
Yes, let's do it.
What a transition, pal. Yes. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, I think, is an interesting debate. Really, the moral that this debate rests on is the fact that Roman Reigns is the top guy in WWE and CM Punk is the top guy in AEW. I think that's what it really comes down to. That's why it's such an interesting discussion. I think if you look at all-time placement for these guys, I think CM Punk is like with that tier 2, maybe tier 3. Roman Reigns is like a low-end tier 1 guy at this point. High-end tier 2. He's got to be like top 15. I mean, we ranked him. We had him like near that top 15. I think you had him at 18. I had him at like 16 or the other way around. Yeah. Point being is that Roman, after this run he goes on, he's going to be a top 15 guy. He's in the middle of the most impressive run of the modern era, and everything that we thought that he would be, that everybody said he would be, he's now that guy. CM Punk, in a nutshell, CM Punk was at his peak, second or 1B to John Cena.
Yep.
And he was not really what WWE wanted in like a top face, top guy, top like face of the company, that kind of guy from a corporate perspective. CM Punk broke down barriers. We've seen that completely change now, but that's kind of what he was, and he had a short run. Roman's run has been really, really significant for a long time, but Roman has had so many bad years on top that it kind of makes it interesting. CM Punk's realistically he had a year in AEW, right? Year and a few months in AEW, not counting the injuries. Year and a few months, 2.5 years, 3 years in WWE, and Roman Reigns has been the tribal chief for 4 years now. So they've had each runs in their prime for 4 years, and that's kind of I think what it comes down to. It's like prime versus prime for these guys.
Kevin, when Roman Reigns has been the top guy in the last few years, has he had to divide the locker room and create his own show with his friends on it just to try and stick around in the company and not punch someone, get in legal trouble, and quit?
Well, SmackDown is kind of his show with his family. I'm just saying, and his friends.
Is Joanna White punching people backstage he disagrees with?
He could be. We don't know. In WWE, that story would not come out. If Roman Reigns shoot punched whoever you want to call out, Braun Breaker, when Braun Breaker was visiting from NXT and didn't shake his hand, and Roman was just like, respect me, respect my locker room, hit him in the face, I doubt that story would leak. I'm just saying, you know?
That's fair. No, that's fair. Kevin, I think this is a really good comparison. It's why we do this. We had this one written down for a while with Punk and Reigns, as these are, I mean, the guys in the last 15 years. These are two of the big stars. Reigns is, I mean, the head honcho nowadays in WWE. Spent a number of years at that tier, but it wasn't received well at all because it was done poorly. Phil, as you say, I mean, his stuff that wasn't great, he wasn't portrayed as the top guy in the company, if that makes sense. Like when he was getting punt kicked and losing his world title, he was like a mid-card guy. He wasn't the guy who you were supposed to want to watch a pay-per-view to see, right? So, yeah, when it comes to these two, Kevin, I think we'll just get right into the sort of the comparison with the different attributes, we'll say. One I want to discuss now, which I think is the most interesting one, promos. Now, 5 years ago, this isn't even a debate. This is just CM Punk. By far, you'd be laughed at for even suggesting Roman Reigns would even be in the same ballpark. The Roman Reigns could even tie Punk's shoelaces. Since then, I mean, we've seen Roman Reigns come into his own. Roman Reigns can carry a literal 40-minute segment in MSG on the mic. It's unbelievable. Reigns is just his acting, his promos, his delivery, what he's saying. He keeps it mostly within kayfabe, unless it's like, I mean, the family stuff with the Samoans blows the line, I guess, but it's still within story. Punk cut some great promos. How often does he have to veer off the rails into taking a shot at WWE or veer off to saying something, breaking the fourth wall he shouldn't be saying to try and get buzz or get a ooh out of the segment? Does that come into it? I don't know. Kevin, for me, I'm just going to pass to you. I want your ruthless take on this before I give my answer. Punk, Reigns, promos, talk to us.
All time, I think if we're talking just best guy in the stick in 20, 30 years, CM Punk is going to be the guy. CM Punk's going to be above Roman. Yep. You know, CM Punk is in a class, kind of on his own. You know, he's in that class with Jericho and like Paul Heyman, Stone Cold, you know, The Rock, Ric Flair. Like, those are kind of like, off the top of my head, the best guys on the mic. I think Punk is right there in that elite class. Punk did it at such a high level, you know, for whatever it was. Like, he really got really good on the mic during the Straight Edge Society stuff. So, like, 5 years there, he had a 5-year run where he was just elite on the mic. And he's still elite on the mic in AEW. And, like, we've talked about it before. Whenever CM Punk grabs a microphone, it's captivating. You never know what he's going to say. You know, he can say anything. He's had more memorable promos, I would argue, than Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you a memorable promo or a memorable line that Roman has had. Maybe the missionary line he used against John Cena. You know, that was kind of good. But I could tell you like 5. Like with Punk, you know, you got the one he said on The Rock about his arms not being long enough to box with God. You know, the pipe bomb, the obvious one. The promo where he's like in Vince's face and the contract signing. Like, oh, I want ice cream bars. I want a private jet. You know, I want this. I want that. His return promo to AEW. He's had so many just pieces of work on the mic. I think when you couple like the memorability, the unpredictable factor, the consistency, I think it's greater than Roman.
Yeah, I'll give the nod to Punk on mic work, but I will say Roman has closed the gap significantly in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Roman was, I mean, as I said, nowhere close. Now he's, I mean, I'd say he's fairly close now.
Would you say that, like, if this was 2018, would you say that Roman versus Punk on the mic, that debate would be as one-sided as Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul's Twitter beef?
well, Logan Paul would stop marrying known promiscuous women, then I mean, it wouldn't have been that one-sided. But nonetheless, Kevin, I mean, yes, you're correct. This being said, yeah, Punk, he'll get mic work. Maybe in 2-3 years, Roman will get mic work. Roman would cut some more legendary promos. Punk would have just fizzled out to being some vindictive old guy who has to break the fourth wall to get a pop. Maybe that's where it goes. I don't know. But yeah, we'll give this to Roman, Kevin. Oh, sorry, right. We'll give this to Punk for mic work. Which category? I think we want to move on to probably in-ring now. This is the other one of the big ones. This is another category where, once again, 5-10 years ago, you even suggest this. It's like Punk in a landslide. Obviously, it's CM Punk, and he might end up just after we'll get your take in a moment. He might end up just taking this category as well. But when it comes to Roman Reigns, he is a format. He is a formula of match. Now, how much you enjoy that match? Look, as we've discussed on our show, all of the top guys in wrestling history have a format. Cena had his style. Daniel Bryan had the same style for the most part when he's a WWE top guy. Get worked over the whole match, babyface comeback, few moves, win. Hogan had his style. Ultimate Warrior had it, yada, yada. All like main eventers have a style. Reigns' style is a 30-minute match. 20 minutes is clean, back and forth. Him working the opponent, talking to the crowd, engaging the audience. Really good stuff. And then usually takes a turn, ref bump. Uso, Heyman's crying, Sikoa, chair, low blow, guillotine, Reigns crying, other Usos involved. Oh, there's another Samoan in a black hood. Oh, Cody's getting screwed when he should win the match. That's sort of the Roman format. Wow. So, Kevin, that being said, thoughts, ring work, Punk, Roman, talk to us.
I got Punk again in this one. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't want to speak too ahead of myself, but I think these are the only two categories that Punk is going to claim here. I think. In-ring, got to give it to Punk. His match at WrestleMania 29 versus The Undertaker, and his match with John Cena, Money in the Bank 2011, I think those two matches alone put him above Roman Reigns. I don't think there's much else to say about that. Roman doesn't have an in-ring match that's even close to that Taker match that Punk had. And then he definitely doesn't have anything in the same atmosphere as that Money in the Bank 2011 match with Cena. That's an all-time great, legendary, iconic match. And, we're not even talking about his indie stuff, the Ring of Honor matches with Samoa Joe that are legendary, influence a generation.
Yeah.
And things like that. All the ladder matches he's been involved in, just countless matches that he's had. I think his catalog's a little cleaner.
Absolutely. No, we'll give this one to Punk, and fair enough. So I think especially now, I mean, I don't have much recency bias in this, but the Roman format, if the opponent, if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. SummerSlam 2023 main event against Jey Uso, that match going for 36 minutes when you knew so clearly who would win, stuff like that doesn't click. So you need to have the right opponent, or at least it needs to work. But that being said, Kevin, giving this to Punk. Next category I want to discuss is entrance. Now, the entrance for Roman, I feel like maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. We're going to look back in 5-10 years when Roman wrestles twice a year and it's like, oh my God, Roman Reigns is gracing with his presence. Once it gets to that point, you're going to watch this Roman entrance and be like, oh my, it's going to get to the category of like an Undertaker entrance with the WrestleManias where it's just like a legendary entrance. At the moment, it's just, I think, an objectively great entrance. It's presence, it's star power. The whole crowd is like trying to record, get their piece of history that I saw Roman enter live. And, you get to see the bloodline and all that. I think Reigns, I'll answer this before I pass to you. I think Reigns just clears with entrance. Punk has had some great entrances, mainly the one in Chicago to This Fire Burns in 2011 at Money in the Bank. That was like the big one where the building's chanting for him. I think Reigns' entrance song just works better than Cult of Personality. I think Cult of Personality is great, I must say, especially for that return Punk made in 2021. That was great. But I just think the entrance, the presence, what encompasses an entrance, Reigns takes it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta give it to Reigns too. I mean, you couple in the Bloodline entrance, which is incredible. That shot of all the Samoans holding the championships and Paul Heyman there holding the both belts, like all those entrances we got in 2021 and 2022 with those guys and Sami Zayn involved, good stuff. Then the Shield too, the Shield entrance, incredible. Even Roman's like original entrance when he first broke off from the Shield and then they had him keep the theme song and try to get him over, and he kept the SWAT gear and he'd come out through the crowd. I thought he just had a presence and was commanding of a crowd more than CM Punk really does. CM Punk's entrance is cool, but it's not a spectacle. And Roman Reigns' entrance is a spectacle. I've seen it at WrestleMania twice now, at WrestleMania 33 and 37, and Roman's entrance is top tier. There's no other way around it. He's on that level with The Undertaker, Triple H, John Cena, Stone Cold, guys like that. It's just at a different level. And Punk is just, I don't think Punk is at that point. Punk's cool. His entrance is cool. He comes out as it's clobbering time. The theme music's catchy. The crowd's usually singing it depending what city they're in. I guess CM Punk is like Bret Hart in '97, except the other way around. CM Punk's a heel in Canada and the rest of the world, but is loved in the United States. It's an interesting dynamic. Go ahead.
Kevin, would you say, just on one more thing on entrance before we move on, Roman's greatest entrance, especially in this recent time, is his WrestleMania 39 one with the pianos and like everything encompassed that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Punk's greatest entrance was him making his return, like the final dance, or like whatever they called it, 2021 in Chicago, and the whole arena's like crying. And he jumps into the crowd. I think for each of them, that's like their greatest entrance.
I agree.
Like, yeah, Punk with this Fire Burns and Money in the Bank 20 was cool, and yeah, he's had some, WrestleMania 29 where he's being played to the ring. I get that, but I look at those two entrances. That to me is like, for each of them, that's the entrance I'm showing if I'm showing someone. So there
you go. Yes, sir. All right. So what's the next category you want to do?
I want to do. We'll do like kind of look, like aesthetic, because that's very important as well.
What, charisma?
Contrary to what? Sorry.
Like charisma? Is that the same as charisma?
No. I mean, just like the look of the wrestler, the aesthetic, marketability, sort of. I mean, this one's very important. Wrestling Twitter will tell you that it doesn't matter what the size of how big the muscles are on the wrestler or what they look like, how tall they are, the tattoos. That doesn't matter as long as they put on a great match. BS, it matters quite a bit. It's presentation. That's what wrestling is. It's a form of theater. So this being said, Kevin, Reigns, I mean, he's got, like the tattoo extent, like the tattoos all the way along his back now. He's got like the long hair. Now he's got the golden glove or whatever colored glove he feels like. And I think Reigns' aesthetic now is pretty much like flawless. A few years back when he was wearing the Shield vest, it was a bit kind of a bit clunky, a bit extra. It's like, bruh, the Shield happened 5 years ago. Why are you still wearing a vest, Joe? Like, come on. When it comes to Punk, when he was wearing pants, that was bad. Like Phil Brooks wearing pants, that sounds so sus, but Phil Brooks wearing the pants during the matches, him wearing the actual trunks and the normal gear, I mean, a bit more, a bit better, but I don't know. Like him wearing the pinstripes, cool, but I don't know. Roman clears look, he clears aesthetic. To me, what are your thoughts?
That's so funny. Yeah. Phil Brooks in his pants, pal. Wow.
Pause.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. That got me. I mean, look. Yeah. I don't want to make this just about, okay, Roman's taller, more muscular. CM Punk's not, so Roman wins. I don't want it to be that. But I will say this. I remember I had a cousin who really, or I have a cousin, I should say, not had a cousin. Have a cousin who really likes WWE. And, like, we were talking about it, like, when CM Punk was on top. Like, this was, like, a long time ago. I don't know why I remember this. But he was just like, man, like, I like CM Punk and all this, but he's small. He's just smaller than The Undertaker and, and even the new guys like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Ambrose and all this. Like, this was around when he walked out and he was like, I mean, he went kind of far for being a small guy. So I think CM Punk's size is part of his aesthetic. That's part of what makes him cool, He has a unique look. Always has like cool, unique, different colored trunks. Usually makes that work. But I mean, it's Roman. It's Roman.
Yeah.
Roman's got it. Just the tattoos, the Greek god physique, the glove, the pants, the Jordans. He's just cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah, Roman clears there, and then this one I love this category: mainstream appeal, pal. Who are you gonna put on the talk shows? On Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. Both of those shows suck, by the way. Who are you gonna put on the Today Show? Good Morning America. Who's going to represent your brand? Who's going to sit there with the championship? Who's going to be a better representation of the company? Who are you going to put on billboards, on Fruity Pebbles boxes, on cereal? Kevin, Joanna Y, Phil Brooks, talk to us.
I got to give it to Roman. For this reason, and this reason alone. CM Punk, yes, he has some mainstream appeal. He was on heels, a TV show about wrestling. He could do acting.
Yeah.
The one time CM Punk was truly exposed to the mainstream was during his UFC career. And he got just slaughtered on Joe Rogan's podcast. The biggest podcast platform, one of the biggest media platforms in modern day America. Joe Rogan's podcast is like right there with like Fox News and CNN. It's like right in that level of exposure. And he just got slaughtered and embarrassed by Joe Rogan and a legion of like casual sports enthusiasts and MMA fans. It was a bad look for pro wrestling. Seeing CM Punk just get destroyed like that. It's like this guy, like I think Joe Rogan referred to him as the most untalented person he's ever seen in MMA. So yeah, I'm gonna go Roman. I think Roman's gonna be maybe a B-list celebrity. Maybe he could even hit A-list celebrity one day. He could be big in Hollywood like The Rock or John Cena or Batista. It's possible. I could see it. I think there's a path there for him for life after WWE.
Yeah, there you go. And I think we'll do maybe one more. Usually we have about maybe one or two more categories to this. I think we're seeing the trend here, and we're getting the sort of point where Punk gets the nod in the sort of the in-ring and the promos, but the gap's closed when it comes to the gap with Roman, and really Roman from the marketability, the look, the aesthetic, pretty much clears everything else. I'll pass to you. Is there another category, maybe two you want to go over?
I think charisma is interesting. I think charisma is really close. You could really give either one the nod in charisma. They both have their own unique charisma. They both have diehard, passionate fan bases, and they're both just like really charismatic. When they're on the screen, big things are gonna happen. So it's kind of neck and neck, I think.
Yeah, no, I think Roman's more like natural, kind of like I'm the guy sort of charisma. Whereas Punk's got more sort of, I don't know how to describe it. And I'm sure someone would, maybe a commenter would know how to describe it. Like Punk's got he knows he's really good at what he does, charisma sort of thing.
Arrogant.
Like it's not just like, like more of an arrogance charisma, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but yeah, that one's hard. I don't know. Probably Roman just because that's the Roman sort of charisma is more like tangible. It's easy to show someone else doesn't know him. It's like that guy has a charisma. Dude, he's big machismo football player. Like it's easy to sort of come across to someone, but yeah, that one's close. That one's close, pal.
I agree, absolutely. All right, so you ready to get out of here? Ready to summarize it?
Pretty much. Do you want to lead us off with the summaries first, pal?
Yeah, let's do it. So for me, it's Roman. Roman has this debate. I think it's close. I think it's pretty close. Like, if I were to put CM Punk like all time off the top of my head, I'd probably say he's like in the 25 to like 29 range.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere like that. Maybe early 20s. It just depends. I have to really look at it. But CM Punk is one of the upper echelon guys in pro wrestling. He's in that second tier, like we said, that low second tier, upper third tier. Roman is a low end 1 tier, very extremely strong upper end second tier guy. He's right there with like the Kurt Angles, the Randy Ortons, Edges, guys like that. CM Punk is like in that class with kind of like like Rey Mysterio, like RVD, maybe not RVD. He's significantly above RVD, but like Kane, guys like that. So I think it's just Roman has a notch now. Like if we did this debate maybe like 2021, I think it'd still be pretty close. Like at that point, Roman was still probably like a top 27, top 28 guy. So it would have been a little closer, but I think Roman's just gone past him. And if we're talking about the guys right now, I'll say this. These guys are the two best in the business right now. Two biggest stars, the leaders of their locker rooms. They're absolutely what everybody's talking about when it comes to WWE and AEW. You may get that face, but I
guess Cody and MJF they're involved in something else. I don't know. But
they're the biggest stars, pal. They're the best of the best. They're the main event. The Roman and CM Punk.
Okay. Fair enough.
Wait, you're gonna take Cody over Roman, pal?
Wait, so you're putting Punk above Roman there?
No.
I'm taking right now MJF and Cody over Punk. Hell yeah.
Really?
Hell yeah, pal.
Interesting.
I mean, they need to split a locker room just to try and have their own show because contractually they're getting paid $4 million a year. That needs to be justified.
Interesting. I don't know. That's interesting. Now, I want to finish my point. So, in my opinion, two best guys going in the wrestling business. I think Roman is safe to say Roman's doing a little bit better job at leading his locker room than CM Punk is. So I think even Roman has that nod right now. So yeah.
Yeah, and one more thing I will say on this: when we were doing our Reigns and Omega one 2 years ago, this was in like April 2021 when the Tribal Chief had been going for like 7 months. So this was, as you talk about, this was a while back before Reigns had really fleshed out what would become the Tribal Chief. When we're watching that, you're thinking, give it maybe 2 years, who knows? And then we've seen the 2 years. We've had it, and I'd say it's been pretty good. So I'd agree with you. I'd put him top. I mean, we'll do the rankings. We'll do a podcast series on that where people rank, but yeah, I'd put him pretty highly. There you go. I'd put Punk below Roman, as you say. I agree with you. I think Joe Anoa'i is just clear. He's a leader, pal. There you go.
There you have it. So that's been this week's episode of Elite Heat. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys in the next one. We didn't do Around the World this week because we're kind of short on time.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with that next week with a vengeance.
They'll be back with a bang. No worries about that.
Bang, bang, pal.